This week we are looking at the topic of joy, and today I want to turn to a passage in the book of Habakkuk, where he is helping us sort of rightly understand how joy should be situated in our life, even when lots of things are not going well. Habakkuk was a prophet. He's one of the minor prophets, okay, not less important, but the major prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, they wrote these big, long books. The minor prophets, there are 12 of them, wrote much shorter letters. And Habakkuk writes about 600 BC, so sort of towards the end of the period in which the Old Testament is pulling together. We don't have anything after 400 BC up until the time of Christ, that 400 years of silence. But Habakkuk is writing. It's a difficult moment, very distressed world. You could argue, not unlike what's going on today. So seems that the world is on the edge of disaster, and Habakkuk is a little frustrated, and so he writes and he expresses that frustration to God. And so there's a dialogue that goes back and forth between God and Habakkuk. And basically, Habakkuk sort of challenges God and says, look, there's all this wrong, there's all this suffering, there's all this evil, there's all this injustice, and you're not doing your job. That's Habakkuk is thinking out loud, which, by the way, is a great Habakkuk, the book of Job, the book of Psalms. These are places in which we see we can bring our authentic selves, our raw emotions, our frustrations. We can voice our confusion to God. He is bigger than all of that. He is not. It's not like he doesn't know. And so Habakkuk has a back and forth with God and expresses some of his confusion and frustration. And it's a great book for that. But then it ends, so this is really very much towards the end of the book. There's this great section. So I'm reading now. Habakkuk chapter 3, picking up in verse 17. Though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crop fails, and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen, and no cattle in the stall. So, though everything's going wrong, I don't have anything to eat, right? Everything is collapsing. Everything is going wrong, though all these things are going wrong. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God my Savior. So, Habakkuk says, look, I have this understanding, God, in spite of my frustrations voiced, that you do have things under control and that you are good and that I can trust in you and I can rejoice in the fact that I can trust in you. I can find joy. I can relax. I can know that in the end, this ends well. I hope that you are fighting for that perspective. There's way too many people that are either consumed with the past, and that tends to bring, shame or regret. And there's not a lot of people that are living in the present. There's some people that are living in the future, but it's not the real future. It's sort of a utopian, idealistic, secularized future. But as Christians, we're to live in the present, but we're to be mindful of the promises of the future. And those promises ought to inform and give us joy. We ought to know that the light and momentary suffering is producing in us an eternal weight of glory. That what is coming out of the suffering, if we are faithful, is going to far overwhelmingly justify whatever happens. So I want you to have joy in the promises of God in his sovereign, ultimate control. Have a good day.